BFree CBD.com joins forces with Championship Wrestling to bring you the all-new Championship Wrestling podcast. And here's your host, Dustin Starr, featuring special guest,
BFree CBD,
founder of BFree CBD, Daryl Bird. Here we go!
Body aches gone, leg pain gone, back pain gone, relaxation on.
Oh yeah! Welcome back to the all-new Championship Wrestling podcast presented by our friends at BFree CBD. Thanks for all the feedback from our debut episode, and thanks for joining us again this week. Be sure to check out BFree CBD. Learn everything you need to know about the benefits of CBD oils. And if you already know, then go check out the deals. You can save 20% right now at that's the letter B, freecbd.com. I am your host, Dustin Starr. Be sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening. Join the conversation. Follow us at CW30 Wrestling. Of course, I'm at Dustin Starr. And show some love to our sponsors and our partners. Go follow at BFree CBD. We're here to talk Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle this week in Memphis. It was awesome. We're going to talk about that and so much more. The founder of BFree CBD, Daryl Bird, he's going to join us in just a bit. But first, and joining me for the first time on this podcast is my lovely Maria. Hey, Maria.
Hey, well, you know what? Since it's the second episode, we're doing pretty good here.
Yeah, 1 for 2. You're not bad.
Right.
And I know you had to join me this week because last week was so much fun. It was incredible.
Last week was so crazy busy that I don't really know how we got it all done.
We did, and we did it all together. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
The Championship Wrestling Rewind is brought to you by BFree CBD.
Up first, let's take you back to earlier last week where myself and my Maria, we met up with Cody and Brandi Rhodes early one morning for an exclusive interview that aired on this week's program, Milestone 2. How cool was that?
It was super cool. It was so early in the morning that I don't think any of us was awake except for you.
Cody even mentioned, I'm not quite fired up just yet, but I'll get there, don't worry.
Well, I don't know if he got there for that, but he might have gotten there by the time you did the podcast.
Right, and I'll get to those highlights in just a moment from the television show, Championship Wrestling, presented by Pro Shingle. We had an exclusive interview there, but first, we went out to FedEx Forum for the Grind City Wrestling podcast in Grind City Media Studios, and here's a quick highlight from that interview with Cody and Brandi.
What was with the cryptic tweet?
Which one?
Randy Orton.
Oh, what about Rand? What did Randy do?
The
Randy
elite,
created a bidding war.
The elite.
Oh, no. So Randy, that wasn't my advice. That's Randy's very smart. Randy created a bidding war for himself that we weren't involved with. Was the best part. Like we never made Randy an offer, and Randy's great, and he's a huge part of my upbringing in the business.
Lots and lots of fun talking to those two. And of course, if you want to hear that entire interview, go to grindcitymedia.com/podcasts. You'll see the Chris Vernon Show and the Odds Couple were right there. Grind City Wrestling. Give it a listen and shout out to Grind City Media and Grind City Wrestling. Then later that night, AEW showed up at the Memphis Grizzlies game at FedEx Forum. How cool was that?
That was incredibly crazy, or maybe crazy is not the word, but funny, because I was standing next to a security guard and I was like, hey, this guy's about to get kicked in the face.
Oh my gosh.
And the security guard was like, what?
First of all, how did you know that, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I know too many things, but it was just so unexpected, and all over Twitter, people were just trying to criticize, saying that, there was no pop, there was no this. It was because everybody was so shocked.
Yeah. Because
this wasn't like a wrestling night. It was just a regular basketball game, a Tuesday night.
And for those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, FedEx Forum, the Memphis Grizzlies played the night before AEW at Landers Center. The Young Bucks were in the house, and they nearly killed a Timberwolves fan. It was a super kick party. Check this out. Oh my gosh, and footage is going to air next Saturday on CW30 Memphis. That's Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle. You're going to see the Young Bucks. But yeah, you're right. The crowd was literally shocked. You actually see people in the audience with their hands on their face like, did that just happen? Is that real?
Yeah, and I feel like if it wouldn't have been such a crazy day with AEW, I probably would not have known about it because, sometimes I like things to be
a surprise
to me. But yeah, I knew about it.
So shout out to Tony Khan. Excalibur was there. Orange Cassidy was sitting courtside. Chucky T was there. It was just a really, really good time out at FedEx Forum. And that led up to Wednesday night at Lander Center for the anniversary of AEW Dynamite while paying tribute to the legends of Memphis Wrestling. But beforehand, we all met up at Three Guys Pizza Pies for our official pre-party. And I'll just tell you this, it was elite.
Elite.
I was amazed from the minute that we pulled into the parking lot because we get there a little bit early to try to level set expectations.
Yeah, who was the first people we saw?
Macho Man Randy Savage, Rowdy Piper.
Yeah, Piper. Mankind. No, you got it. Mankind was there. The Rock.
It was incredible. So we get there. It's super early and it is packed. Wall to wall. People are standing around waiting for tables, and every single person in the building has a wrestling shirt on.
It was awesome. We can't say enough good things about the staff and the fans. Shout out to Three Guys Pizza Pies with multiple locations throughout Memphis and in South Haven, our official pre-party destination. Man, that was awesome. And I can't wait to do it again. And then finally, we made it out to Lander Center, where it was great seeing all the legends and friends. Immediately when we walk in the door, because we were a little bit late, because we were the last ones to leave the party, we walk in, who's the first people that we saw?
Austin Idol.
Yes.
Kevin Lawler. I don't know if that's really a legend, but his brother sure is.
Right.
He's going to hate me for saying that.
Ricky Morton was there. So we saw all the legends just as we walked in the door. And you mentioned Austin Idol. We had to snap up a pic with the Universal Heartthrob, Memphis legend, one of my all-time faves, and I always thought that he just had the coolest nickname in the history of wrestling, the Universal Heartthrob. And then, of course, Ricky Morton, mad respect for what Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson are doing right now, the Rock and Roll Express. We actually dressed up as the Rock and Roll Express for Halloween one year.
We sure did. They liked us before that, but they liked us even more after that.
It was very cool seeing him. And then Pork Chop Cash. Some of you guys are familiar with Pork Chop Cash from way back in Memphis Wrestling. I'm familiar with him.
That is somebody who I was not familiar with.
Yeah, so I met him way back.
I may not have even been born yet.
Probably not. So he goes, Dustin, you don't remember me, do you? I'm like, what? Pork Chop Cash? How do you remember me? So
yeah, I want to know that too.
We snapped up a picture, and then we enjoyed the show. It was an unbelievable show with Dave Brown on commentary. Do you know that was Dave Brown's national television debut?
I saw that later on Twitter. I did not know that when we saw him later, or I would have told him congratulations. But he was just so humble, even after the show. Like, hopefully I didn't bore you guys. And,
oh my gosh.
I'm pretty sure you didn't bore anybody, but
speaking
we'll
of after,
go back and listen.
Yeah, and speaking after the matches, we did end up backstage to say hello to so many friends, and Dave Brown was one of those, and he's, of course, the Grind City Wrestling Commissioner. We've done commentary side by side. He's the spokesperson for Pro Shingle. Go check them out at proshingle.com. But you walked Dave Brown out to his car.
I did. That was a joke on you, though, because
he was taking my woman.
Yeah.
Just like he took my AEW dark commentary spot.
Yeah, I don't know if that was ever yours.
No, it wasn't. I'm totally just kidding, but I would love to do it. DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, made a surprise appearance at AEW. He's going to be in the ring coming up this week. He's also
there's a funny story about that, though, because one of our friends told me that DDP had gotten him tickets.
Yes.
I didn't tell you that because I didn't realize that it was a big deal. And then when you said he got free tickets and I said DDP gave him, well, you didn't tell me DDP.
DDP? Why do you know DDP? Yeah, so DDP came over and spoke to us. He's also a former Grind City Wrestling Commissioner. We worked with him at FedEx Forum for Wrestling Nights, and you know how excited I was to see and say hello to my old friend Justin Roberts.
I feel like out of everybody that we met backstage, you were most excited to talk to him again.
Dustin Roberts.
When I told him that you had an impression
Oh,
of him, he
I
wanted
could've-
to hear it.
I could have dug a hole and buried myself when you said that because I can't hold a candle to him.
I think he knows.
But back in 2008, when I was trying to earn my job with WWE, Justin Roberts remembers all the Dustin Star signs that were out at FedEx Forum, and he came backstage and asked me, "Are you Dustin Star?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "There's signs out there for you." I said, "No,
Get
no
outta
way.
here.
Get out of here. You're just kidding." And then when I got in the ring, Memphis really did show up for me, and he remembered that all these years later. We also caught up with Tony Schiavone.
And to me, one of the coolest things was, so many championship wrestling from Hollywood talent in championship wrestling presented by Pro Shingle. That talent we've seen over the last few months go to AEW, like Scorpio Sky and Brandon Cutler, of course, Peter Avalon. We were fortunate enough to fly out to Hollywood a couple of times this past year and meet all those guys. And seeing them at AEW, they opened their arms to us and welcomed us, and it was awesome.
It was very cool. We caught up with Tony Schiavone, good old JR, Orange Cassidy. You mentioned Scorpio Sky, Peter Avalon, Trent Beretta, who I worked with in WWE back in the day. It was good to see him. So a big, big thank you to everyone at AEW for all the hospitality. Did you have fun, Maria?
I had too much fun. I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to anyway. I debated calling into work. Like, I am going to take a sick day. The only reason that I did not is because my boss knew that I was throwing a pre-party beforehand, and she would have immediately called me out. I don't know if she would have been mad about it, but she would have been like, "I know you had a pre-party last night, and then I know you went to wrestling, so you must be hungover."
Oh, man. Well, we had a really good time. And next, we're going to talk about Milestone Part 2. Quick recap.
You're listening to the all-new Championship Wrestling podcast presented by BFreeCBD.com, helping you be and feel your best.
Big thanks to my Maria for joining us here on the Championship Wrestling podcast presented by BFree CBD. Go follow her at the Maria Star. Let's talk about Milestone Part 2. Matches were absolutely loaded. This was one of my favorite episodes of all time. We had NWA in the house, and of course, Brandi and Cody Rhodes joined us for an exclusive interview, but we kicked things off with a grudge match where Ty Matthews and Dickie Mayer square off against Dan Joseph. No, it wasn't a handicap match, but it might as well have been, because with Dickie Mayer at ringside, of course, they did a little double team number on Dan Joseph. And of course, Dan Joseph was out for revenge. I mentioned this on the program that I was in the broadcast booth when Ty Matthews took all those cheap shots at Dan Joseph's family. And finally, after months and months of chasing, Dan Joseph got his hands on Ty Matthews and took care of business. Then it was women's action. Thunder Rosa, who has taken the professional wrestling world by storm over there at NWA. You can watch NWA Power every Tuesday on YouTube at 6:05, and you'll see Thunder Rosa in action. This week, she took on Viva Van, and she took care of business for sure. It was our first look at Viva Van and Thunder Rosa on Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle. Hopefully we'll see more of them. And of course, the match that everybody seemed to be tuning in for. It was Hugs versus the Mongrovian Spike. It was Gentleman Jervis versus the Question Mark. And if you talk about a gimmick match, this is gimmick to the max. I absolutely love Gentleman Jervis and the Friendship Farm. I've become a bigger fan of the Question Mark. I'm not going to tell you who won that match. You need to go to YouTube at CW30 Wrestling, and you need to watch it for yourself. It was a whole lot of fun. And speaking of fun, I mentioned it earlier, my Maria and myself had the opportunity to sit down with an exclusive interview with the Chief Brand Officer and Executive Vice President of All Elite Wrestling, Cody and Brandi Rhodes. Let's hear a quick highlight from that interview. Real quick, a lot of the performers that you have on AEW Dynamite, they paved the way and trailblazed right through Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and also Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle. Everybody from Brandon Cutler, Scorpio Sky had his farewell match with us here just a couple of months ago. Peter Avalon came through the program, and of course, somebody that you know all too well, MJF. Real quick, just tell us what's going on with you and MJF. What are you going to do to him?
MJF is short and he has yellow teeth, and that's very real. And for someone who is so vulgar and vile to the audience, it's a strange and bizarre, he needs to take a little bit of a look inside. Everyone else you named are wonderful. Sky, wonderful, been a huge part of AEW, and everyone getting to know Scorpio Sky now this far into his career is great. Peter Avalon's way better than the world has seen, and I'm looking forward to him growing on Dynamite, because there's a lot to Peter Avalon. And Brandon Cutler's the man. That guy deserves a raise for the amount of work he's been doing behind the scenes and actually in the ring. And he's special. Plus his wife Denise makes half the roster's pay-per-view.
Nice.
Nice. So getting a lot from the Hollywood folks.
Husband-wife duos?
Yeah, here's to the husband and wife duos.
Of course, you can hear that interview in full on YouTube at CW30 Wrestling. Be sure to subscribe while you're there. Then it was main event time. And this was sort of a grudge rematch. Well, it wasn't sort of a grudge rematch. It's definitely a grudge rematch, because our guy Adrian Quest won the United TV title just a couple of weeks back in our New Year's special, only to have to relinquish the championship to Nico Marquez because it was not a sanctioned match. Oh boy, the rematch was here. It was a main event, United TV title on the line, and it was sanctioned. And Jamie Iovine was at ringside with Royce Isaacs. So it was Royce Isaacs defending the title against Adrian Quest. It was a valiant performance, but it's very hard for anybody to win a 2-on-1 contest. And that's exactly what happened there. So Milestone 2 is in the books. Milestone 3, the finale, is next week. Don't miss it. It's absolutely loaded.
Hi, I'm Daryl Bird, founder of BFree CBD. Time for a quick Q&A. This week's question is, will I get high using BFree CBD? No, I wish. No, just kidding. Our hemp extracts products are all made from industrial hemp, which only has trace amounts of THC, so there is no psychoactive effect from taking our products. However, they will make you feel like brand new again. Try some today. Just go to BFreeCBD.com. That's BFREECBD.com.
The Championship Wrestling Lookout is brought to you by BFree CBD.
Another busy week ahead, so here's what to look out for this week. On Thursday, of course, it's a brand new Grind City Wrestling at Grind City Media, where we're going to recap all the action, and of course, we'll bust each other's chops a little bit. Full recap of AEW Dynamite, SmackDown live from Memphis, and our experiences from both of those events, because we were in the house for both of them. Also, I'm going to join my buddy BT, Brian Tremell, on his Shooting the Shiznits podcast. Am I allowed to say Shiznit on this podcast? I guess I am now. But be sure to follow him at Comic Book Mark BT to find out when that drops. That'll be this week. Then, finally, next Saturday, it's Milestone Part 3, the finale, featuring exclusive footage from the Memphis Grizzlies and Grind City Media, where the Young Bucks made their appearance. It was really fun stuff. You'll definitely want to see that. It went viral. It was so cool. Be sure to tune in to Being the Elite this week on YouTube, because you never know who you might see. And of course, on the Milestone finale, the main event is Ricky Starks from the NWA. Stroke Daddy himself is going to step in the ring with the monstrous Heritage Champion Watts. Can Ricky Starks walk away with the Heritage Championship? I don't know, he's got a tough task ahead of him. That's not the only championship that's on the line. The Soul Burners will defend the United Tag Team Championships against the up-and-coming Wasted Youth. They've been very impressive. We'll see if they can take the tag team straps. Also, Lacey Ryan's going to go head-to-head with Killer Bay, Heather Monroe, in a best 2 out of 3 falls match. Heather Monroe says she's the best. And a lot of times she says, you can't wrestle here. Well, Lacey Ryan beats her in a 2 out of 3 falls match. That means she pins her twice in one match. We'll see if that goes down. That's all happening coming up on Saturday on Championship Wrestling, presented by Pro Shingle at high noon on CW30 and also on YouTube Premiere. Plus, It's my Maria's birthday surprise on the program. You absolutely will not want to miss that. It is awesome. And by the way, happy birthday, baby.
It's time for this week's mailbag. Mailbag, mailbag.
Every week, I'll answer your questions and give the shout out. And last week, we had some really, really good questions. This week is no different. Up first is Fred. Shout out to Fred. Will there ever be a Memphis territory like before? The answer's simple. It's no. It's just not. The old territory days are over. I hate to break it to you, but it just is. There's too much wrestling to watch every single day of the week on television, on the internet, you name it. The territory days are kind of like newspaper or print. They're just gone, and it's not ever going to happen again. He also mentioned that Louisville has OVW, and they have for many, many years, so why not Memphis? Well, I mean, that's a really good question, too, and it's a really good comparison for OVW and Memphis Wrestling. But there was about a 15-year gap without television for Memphis Wrestling, and that really hurt. We are the new territory. Championship Wrestling, presented by Pro Shingle, is the new Memphis territory. You need to tune in every single week, and you'll find out for yourself. And we've got some big news coming real soon about our first huge live event. So stay with us and get ready. It's going to be great. Then David has a question. Now, this was a question that a little bit of everybody had. Why wasn't Bill Dundee involved in the Legends tribute? That's a great question, and I'm not even sure that there's a real, true answer. You can go find Dr. Tom Pritchard on Facebook. He has a post about what it could be. I asked around to a few people really close to the situation, and some think there may be some heat from the past, and some think that Bill just, maybe he couldn't physically do it. I don't know, but I do know Bill Dundee, and I am disappointed that he didn't get that spotlight. It's very much well-deserved. I've known Bill for a really long time. He's friends with my wife, Maria, and of course my son, Brady. Nothing but respect. I hated that he wasn't there. Not sure if there's a true answer to that question, David, but the next time I talk to the superstar, I'm going to ask him, and I'll report right back here on the Championship Wrestling Podcast presented by BFree CBD. Also, there was a funny question that came out. A lot of you might not know this. The smallest crowd you've ever wrestled in front of. And I think one of the answers that I saw online was 27. Well, when I very first started, I wrestled for a promotion called Rampage Championship Wrestling, and I promise you, there was less than 27 people there. And they acted like it was no big deal. It was like, hey, now we're wrestling for fun. Now we're wrestling for practice. And of course, nobody's getting any money. So I would say smallest crowd I've wrestled in front of was probably, 10 to 15 people, and they were all friends and family and rode with the wrestlers that were there performing at the building. It was the worst. Anyway, you got to do the bad ones in order to get to where you need to be, and that's what we did. Also, a cool question comes in from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood News. Shout out to them. Where does the Memphis love come from? He says there's so much passion. Well, of course, I was born and raised right here in Memphis, Tennessee, and this is all I ever wanted to do was be a professional wrestler since I was age 5. We would go to Mid-South Coliseum every single Monday night to watch the King, the Superstar, the Boogie Woogie, man, you name it, man. It was just unbelievable. That's all I ever wanted to do. When we went on vacation, I would tell my parents to record Saturday morning wrestling. So that way, when I got home, I could binge watch an entire month, an entire summer of the Championship Wrestling show in the classic days of old Memphis's USWA. I used to practice my promos in the mirror, talking to Lance Russell and Dave Brown. And once again, big shout out to Dave Brown, and I'll forever love and miss Lance Russell. But man, that's where some of that passion comes from. Maria was born and raised as well in Memphis. Her childhood was a little bit different as mine. She didn't attend the Mid-South Coliseum. She was too busy winning beauty pageants. But that was this week's mailbag, and if you want your questions answered, you need to send those to me at CW30 Wrestling, or you can shoot them directly at Dustin Starr.
Thanks for listening to the Championship Wrestling Podcast presented by BFreeCBD.com.
Oh yeah! Thank you, T-Bone, and thank you for listening to us again on the Championship Wrestling Podcast presented by BFree CBD. Be sure to support our partners at BFreeCBD.com. That's the letter B, FreeCBD.com. They're offering 20% off. If you already take CBD oil or if you've been thinking about trying it, certainly need to try BFree CBD. And remember, tomorrow, that's Tuesday, January 14th, is my Maria's official birthday. And you know that we've celebrated the entire month because that's just what we do. Please help me blow up her timeline. Go to Instagram, Twitter, or even Facebook at The Maria Star and send her happy birthday. Oh, yeah. It's her flirty 30, so let's make it bigger and better than ever. But that's all we got for this week. We'll tune in next week. The Championship Wrestling Podcast presented by BFree CBD. Till then, so long, everybody.